In today's halacha, I'm going to go into the detailed laws of building a sukkah. When is a sukkah to be built? It's written in Shulchanaruchharav chapter 624. The Rama writes that one begins building the sukkah immediately on Matzah Yom Kippur. It's discussed, however, in Achayim that we don't actually necessarily begin building the entire sukkah. And as the Rebbe brings from the Shulchan, is that we at least start speaking about the building on Matzah Yom Kippur in order to begin a mitzvah right away. Nevertheless, in chapter 625, the Rama writes, and the Alter Rebbe also brings, that it's a mitzvah to finish and complete the building of the sukkah the next day. So thus, when is the sukkah to be built? According to Alter Rebbe, it is to be built today, the day after Yom Kippur. One may not delay the building of the sukkah until Erev Sukkot, close to the entrance of the Chag, as it's discussed in Pesachim whether one is even allowed to be involved in the work of building a sukkah within 2.5 hours before Shkia, before sunset, which is the time of Mincha Ketana. Who is to build the sukkah? Preferably, the sukkah is to be built by the Baal Habayis, by the father of the home, as it is proper for one to do a mitzvah himself rather than delegate it to another person. Mitzvah boy yesun b'shluchim. Nevertheless, it's a custom to delegate different parts of the building to different members of the family, so everyone take part in the great mitzvah. However, it is proper for the father of the house to personally place at least some of the schach on the sukkah in order to fulfill the main mitzvah of building the sukkah. Although the Rebbeim were not particular to personally build their sukkah and they had it done through different emissaries, nevertheless, the Rebbe was always particular to place some schach onto the sukkah. It is told of a Vil Parasha that he would always help build the walls of the sukkah. The name Elumelech writes that one is to personally toil to build a sukkah in order to sanctify its limbs. May women or children build a sukkah? The issue is that women and children are patur from the mitzvah. Can someone who's patur from the mitzvah be involved? The same question applies also for a Gentile. So the answer is that regarding the walls, which is not the main halachic part of the sukkah, even though of course a sukkah must contain walls, women and children may be involved even if they completely built it, and the same applies also for a Gentile. However, the schach should not be put on by women, children, or a Gentile, and should be done by a gadol, by a male that's above the age of 13. And the reason for this is because since they are patur from the mitzvah, therefore not according to all poskim are they able to make a halachically valid sukkah. Nevertheless, a bidi eved, if a woman, a child, or even a Gentile built a sukkah, the sukkah is completely kosher and may be dwelled in on sukkahs. It is very easy, however, to simply relift the schach and put it back on in order to be yetze according to all the opinions, even the chatzim. The Rebbe made an important initiative that every single person to try to have their own sukkah and not rely on the sukkah of a neighbor. What should be built first, the walls or the schach? Or does it not matter? It's ruled in Shulchanaruchharav chapter 635, Halacha 1, that it is a must. One is required to build the walls before he builds the schach. Now, this doesn't mean he has to build the entire walls. As long as he has 3 walls which are kosher, valid for the sukkah, then he may then already put the schach on top. But one who does not have yet valid walls and puts the schach on before and then makes the walls or completes the walls so they are halachically valid, such a sukkah is invalid according to many poskim, even b'di'evet. There are poskim that are matir, but nevertheless one must be very careful in this matter, as majority of poskim are stringent. In the event that one went ahead and did so and built the sukkah in a way that he first put on the schach and then made the walls valid, then he should lift up the schach after the walls are validated in order to consider it as if the schach is being replaced. This brings about a very interesting question, that what happens if on Sukkot the walls blow off and they have to be re-put back. In such a case, must one also replace the schach? So this is brought in poskim that once the sukkah was built in its valid method, in its valid order of first walls then schach, it no longer is relevant if afterwards the walls fall and one replaces the walls, even though in such a case it's as if he is now placing the walls after putting the schach. Nevertheless, some poskim do say that if it's possible, one should try to replace the schach by lifting it up and putting it back down after fixing the walls. When building a sukkah, one must make sure to to position it in an area where there's nothing hovering on top of it. This includes trees, this includes laundry lines, and other things of the like. L'chatchila, one should make sure that there's absolutely nothing hovering over the schach. In a situation that one is unable to build in another place, and he must build it in an area where over it is hovering items, then the ruling is that so long as the hovering items, such as the branches of a tree that's hovering over the schach, is not to such an amount that if an equal amount of that hovering were to be removed from the kosher schach, then it would still remain majority shade in the sukkah, it is valid. In other words, if one has so much schach on his sukkah that even if an equal amount of the hovering was removed from the schach, there would still be shade given from the schach, then it is valid. But ideally, l'chatchila, one should avoid this issue and not build a sukkah under anything that's hovering over it, such as the branches of a tree. It is worthy to note, however, that a tree which is not hovering over it, but the wind sometimes blows the branches over the schach, this is not a problem at all, and it is valid. Regarding laundry lines, this matter is discussed in Paiskim, and ideally it is best not to build a sukkah under laundry lines, but in the case of need, one can do so, even if the person is hanging laundry on his line, so long as the laundry is hanging vertically and not in a way that it's laying over the lines, that in a way that it's covering the sukkah. At this point, we'll add that regarding snow, in those areas that it snows over sukkahs, one must be careful to remove the snow from the schach before eating it during sukkahs, even though there are places that are matir. Nevertheless, as is brought down from the Alter Rebbe, we rule that one must remove the snow before eating in the sukkah. On Shabbos and Yontiv, one has to ask a goy to do so for him. Those that build a sukkah under a sukkah awning, meaning that they have an awning that covers the sukkah during times of rain, as is with the Rebbe's sukkah in front of 770, they should be careful to place the schach on when the awning is open, and not when the awning is closed. Once that has been done, then they can open and close the awning whenever they wish. Regarding decorations, it is not the Chabad custom to decorate the sukkah as brought in the Sichas of the Rebbe Rayatz and recorded in Sefer Minhagim, as it says that the decorations are the people themselves in the sukkah, the Jews themselves. Nevertheless, some are accustomed to put pictures up, etc. And the following law must be known. All decorations and pictures of the like should be only placed within 4 tefach from the schach, in order for it to be nullified to the schach. Those items that are placed in the walls that protrude, then if they are less than 4 tefach from the schach, could be a problem if a person eats under it. And therefore, all decorations should preferably be placed within 4 tefach from the schach. If the decoration starts within 4 tefach, but rolls downwards, such as some decorations of chains, then it is debated amongst Paiskim whether this is a problem or not, because part of it reaches down below the 4 tefach mark. Regarding what occurs in many buildings with balconies, that the schach of an upper neighbor is hovering over the sukkah of a lower neighbor, care must be taken in this regard, as according to some Paiskim, the Pri Megadim, the schach can possibly invalidate the lower schach that's under it. So therefore, when building a sukkah in a balcony of a building, one should try to either build a sukkah in a way that none of the upper neighbor's schach is hovering over his sukkah, or at the very least, ask his neighbor to push in the schach further in so it doesn't hover over his sukkah space. Regarding building a sukkah in public property, so in the Shulchanaruchharav, the Alter Rebbe writes that one may not do so, and if he does so, then he may not say a blessing over the use of such a sukkah. Nevertheless, in many places it is a custom to be lenient in this, especially in a Jewish municipality, and therefore each person, in a case of need, should contact his Rav regarding the validity of building a sukkah in a public area. The schach. Regarding the schach, one must verify that the schach being used is kosher. This especially applies with bamboo mats that is normally sold, and in some areas of the world this is used for roofing purposes or for vessels, and therefore would be invalid, and therefore they are to be bought only with a valid hashgacha. It is our custom to put an abundance of schach on top of the sukkah. We put so much, even if the stars cannot be seen, although we do make a small hole, small crack of an area where you can look up and see the stars. One may not place so much schach that rain cannot penetrate through the sukkah. One should not use branches that contain leaves that will fall off into the sukkah during the meals, although if one did so, the sukkah is valid. Regarding the maimed, the supports of the schach, so according to Halacha, we're machmir initially to make sure that the supports of the schach are also valid for schach. That means one should not rest the schach on metal, such as in many sukkahs that have metal frames, but rather one should place wood boards on top of the metal frames and have the schach rest on the metal. Likewise, one should not nail in the schach or tie the schach with material that's not kosher for schach. However, once it's been set up on a kosher support, it is not necessary that the kosher support be itself supported on a kosher support. Thus, one can put wood boards on top of the metal frame and on top of that place the kosher schach. However, there are poskim based on the Chazon Ish that are particular that all the supports, including the supports of the supports, be made of kosher material for schach. The walls. It is our custom to make 4 walls for the sukkah, even though it is halachically valid with 3 walls. What are the halachic definitions of a valid wall? A valid wall must start within 3 tefach from the ground and reach to at least 10 tefach from the ground. This is approximately within 24 centimeters and reaches up to 80 centimeters from the ground. That is the sukkah's minimum height of the walls. If it reaches this height, even if it stops there and is more like a short guard railing, it is valid, even though the whole part of most of the sukkah is open to the outside. The wall material must be made of material that does not move with the wind, and therefore those that build sukkahs using plastic around metal frames must be careful that the plastic is very strongly attached to the frames in a way that it doesn't move. There are poskim that for this reason completely negate the use of such sukkahs and only allow doing so if one uses a method called lavud, which is placing strings or metal poles within 3 tefach of each other from the ground until a height of 10 tefach. Nevertheless, there are many poskim that are melamed schos that justify the use of the plastic wall sukkahs in the condition that the plastic is strongly attached to the walls in a way that it doesn't move so far with the wind. To summarize the sukkah building process. On the day after Yom Kippur, verify the area you desire to build a sukkah. Make sure it does not contain any obstructions which will hover over the schach of the sukkah. Step 2. Build at least 3 complete walls that are 10 tefach high and within 3 tefach from the ground and are 7 tefach wide. Step 3. Place kosher schach over the walls after the walls are built. Step 4. Verify that the schach is majority shade, allows rain and starlight to penetrate at least in one area.